Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, episode 809 or so. And I have one of my best friends, my mentor, and an incredible business and humanitarian mind himself, the double B, Blaine Bartlett.
Hey,
moving our possibilities to reality. Hi, buddy.
How you doing, buddy? I see you got your new book up in the background there.
Yeah, no, I switched it over to the Office Hours logo, but you never know. It's cool. I put this thing in my car too, and like when I'm at my other offices in other places, I just throw it back up, and it has a little stick with 20 different logos on it. It works well.
Good. I love that. I love that.
This whole technology thing's working for me. How about you?
Hey, I'm just dancing in the rain here.
Very good. Well, we have a lot of great guests waiting today, and I'm going to bring up my own notes here. Give me 2 seconds as the time flies when you're having fun applies today on November 13th here on Office Hours. So I want to appreciate everybody for being here. We're going to be in New York tomorrow and back on the way, but Jeff Burningham is here. He's an AI futurist and tech entrepreneur, poignantly, and he has a new book for all of us, which is the last book written by a human, Becoming Wise in the Age of AI. Welcome, Jeff, to episode 809 or so of Office Hours.
David and Blaine, it's good to be with you. Congrats on 809. I like that number.
Yeah, not too bad. We're not really sure. It might be more. Gigi's been a little amiss over the years of counting all of them, but I know we started counting around 400, but we didn't count all of them. Some suck. That's probably why she didn't count them. None of them with Blaine. None of them with Blaine suck. But like I had guys like Mike Diamond, and just it was just a mess early on. We enjoyed keeping them sober was half the crew in the early Office Hours days. I wanted to have you on because your book really hits home. I've been in technology since 1992, and the same stories and the same lessons seems to be repetitive. And the only difference that I see from the early internet days, Web 1.0 that I was involved with in 1992, Web 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0, is the speed and the power of the technology has changed. But the exact same human response has consistently patterned itself in the exact same way. And those people that are early adopters respond the same way. Those people that are chasm people, they respond the same way. And it's just, I think, the variable that I wanted to learn as you talk about, the last human to write a book was, how is the speed and the power really impacting human nature with this consistent behavioral response to technology?
Yeah, I think there are 2 points I'd love to make to that. Number one, disruption is always around us. Like, change is the only constant.
Yes.
And the more things change, though, the more they stay the same. And we need to be human. Like, we need to bring the best of ourselves to the development of AI and make sure that it's focused on human flourishing and not human division. The second thing I'd say is that another difference, David, about AI potentially is its agentic nature, or its ability and or its seeming desire to be an agent unto itself. So like a shovel or whatever we created, humans had to do something in order for it to work. What's interesting and a little bit scary, but also exciting about AI is its ability to do things on its own, maybe even things that we aren't aware of. So it's an exciting time.
Can I interject? Because I want to bring some clarification. Lights with sensors, and there's technology that do things on their own, but the second point is the difference. It's the ability to learn and then create something on its own. And so
to become smarter,
creating something on its own, not responding on its own. Correct?
Yeah, it's creation. Yeah, it's creation on its own. And that's why I think, the core message of the last book written by a human is that as our machines become more and more intelligent, which they are, as they want to potentially create, as you said, David, on their own, we as humans must become more wise. or else. Like, we have to become more wise. So the book is really about human nature. It's about how we handle disruption. I believe that AI is a cosmic mirror to humanity. So what we do with the reflection we see, and then how we transform and evolve.
Beautiful.
That idea of transform and evolve, you mentioned change, and the only constant is change. The problem with change, regardless of whether it's occurring slowly or fast, is oftentimes not the change itself. It's the disruption to existing relationships that change causes. And not just the interpersonal, but also my relationship with what I would call reality. Okay, that gets disrupted.
Yeah.
And you talk about, and I love the tagline on this book, becoming wise in the age of AI. So with the idea of disrupted relationships, and kind of as the filter here, how are you defining wise?
Yeah, it's a great question. And maybe let's just talk about it quickly in the context of relationships. We're together, guys. We have different backgrounds. I don't know you. You don't know me necessarily well. But anytime we're with another human being, we're on sacred grounds. We always actually share more in common than we have differences, no matter our backgrounds. And as humans come into relationship with an intelligent machine, we need to remember that real transformation, real evolution happens in the beauty and messiness of human connection and human relationship. Like, so that's one of the most wise things I think we can do as humans, and something that we may have to fight for, maybe especially our younger generations, is to stay in human relationship, even though it's messy, even though it's hard, even though, my chat GPT tells me I'm the most handsome guy on earth. And I bet you it tells you guys the same thing. And by the way, it's probably wrong for all three of us, not to, but it's in the beauty and messiness of working through human relationships where we transform and evolve. We need to lean into those relationships and hold on to them tight.
It's so interesting being involved, and I know Blaine as well, from pre-chasm internet, pre-chasm 1.0. We've been involved in synergistic businesses for years as we transformed from middleware and wireless and hardware and all the different critical issues that went around the hardware, the connectivity, and the applications that were evolving. And I always would say, these technologies, including the shovel, were created to make humans more human. The interesting thing that I find, and what intrigued me about your book as well, is what if, we actually, it's making us more AI. And what I mean by that is, is I've studied a lot with Blaine, the Akashic records, for example. As the cloud became more and more apparent, it became more and more real that the Akashic records is a cloud that holds the past, present, and future in it in a quantum mathematical state. And then, we look at the relationships that human beings can have with AI. And, there's countries, I've been told by Gary Vaynerchuk, that actually are acknowledging relationships, marriages between AI and human beings. I think it's going to be interesting is what makes a human as AI continues to learn.
Yeah, well, I think this is the beauty of AI. Like, this is the blessing in disguise, as is often the case. You guys well know, the obstacle becomes the way here.
Thank you. The Tao philosophy.
Philosophy as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So the obstacle, AI, the machine, you could say, David, becomes the way. At least that's the bull case that I put out in the book. And I think that AI is a crucible for humanity to walk through together. And of course, a lot of humans could get stuck in the machine or trapped in the machine. That may happen, and that is happening, you could say, on a daily basis. However, I hope and think, and I'm, fighting for and rooting for in the book, for most of humans to return to ourselves, to actually become more human. That is the call of
Right.
the last book written by a human, is to actually return to our humanity instead of becoming digitized, instead of getting lost in the machine. It will turn us back to ourselves. We can fall in love, quote unquote, with humanity again, even though it's beauty, even though it's messy, even though it's messy, even, it's imperfect. That's what I hope. I think the obstacle becomes the way here. That's what I hope.
I believe so. And I love the alignment with humans being more human via technology. And through Force and Counterforce, I believe we are on the precipice of understanding humanity and appreciating our differences. And we all know that within every struggle and every pain exists the solution. It's just a lapse of time before we find the solution, the resolution to the pain and struggle that's caused by the embodiment of the human experience. So I cannot wait to read your book. Where can I find it? Where can people read it?
Yeah, I'd love for you to read it. It's everywhere. Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes & Noble. You can find it everywhere, and follow me along my journey at my website, jeffburningham.com, or on social media. This was meant to be a conversation starter, kind of like this short conversation we had today. So I'd love to continue the conversation.
Yeah, we keep it short so I don't fuck things up. So that's it's my secret sauce. So we could get to episode 810. Anyway, Jeff, you're always welcome. We got many more shows, and we'd love for you to start conversations in person as well as we travel around and we get to Utah. We get all over the country in 200 cities. So we'd love to have you and pouring into our community and masterminds and interviews and other places. So thank you so much for your perspective.
Happy to do that. Good to be with you, David and Blaine. Have a great day.
You bet, Jeff.
Having you.
Thanks.
Great leaders and great books. You are what you surround yourself with, the great ideas and the great people. Remember, don't do business with dicks. Seth's been waiting in the wings. Seth Darmstadter is here, right in the middle of our country in the amazing Chicago area. Managing partner at Raines Feldman and Littrell. Welcome, Seth, to Office Hours.
Hey, David. Hey, Blaine. Thanks so much for having me. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. And I got to tell you, I'm inspired by your generosity and your willingness to share your platform with so many people, and specifically with me. So thanks for having me.
Oh, well, we really appreciate you being here and pouring into our community, especially because a lot of our community are entrepreneurs and business owners. And I think a lot of times, being the chairman of Napoleon Hill Institute and having Blaine be on my board as well, one of the things that we see with businesses is the lack of intentionality, a definiteness of purpose, and not understanding why we're in business. So many people get so busy working in their business that they forget to make money. They forget an objective of maybe an exit or a social impact or some other things that, businesses are here to do, especially in America. Seth, what role are you playing today to help promote, protect, love, and perfect entrepreneurship and small businesses in the United States?
Yeah, thanks. So look, I think what you're talking about with intentionality is sort of everything. At the end of every year, I sit down with my wife and my kids and we try to pick a word that's going to be sort of our focal point for the coming year. And I find myself always picking the same word, and it's almost always deliberate, right? Because I think when we act with sort of deliberate intention, it changes a lot about what we do. It's not so much about what we do and what we say, but how we do it and how we say it, right? And, it's a little bit cliche, but I am described by a lot of my clients as their wartime consigliere, right? Not because they're at war, but because I sort of find myself with them in times of trauma, right? So it could either be a bet the company issue, or maybe they're trying to build something and it's that inflection point. And what I'm seeing right now with entrepreneurs is that we're at a point in history and a business landscape where the ability and the willingness to take a risk is so critical to making an impact and so critical to being able to be disruptive. But what I'm sadly seeing so much of, and what is sending my kids to school and paying for their shoes, is that people are conflating pushing boundaries and taking risk with pushing moral and ethical boundaries. And those things, David and Blaine, they couldn't be more different, But from what we're seeing and what our teams are seeing is that the biggest differentiator between the risks that are propelling people to the top of an industry versus the risks that are leading to either failures or business divorces is the willingness and sort of the intentionality to stay very, very true to your moral compass.
So
You know,
if I keep saying, your theme song must be the Beatles' "Let It Be," right? Find myself in times of trouble.
Mother Mary comes to me.
I know what's going on here. You're trying to get me to sing. You're not going to bait me into that. I mean, it's bad enough that you had me appear after the final human to write a book.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I'm going to go home and my kids are going to say, "How was your day?" And I'm going to say, "I got to meet the guy who's the last human to write a book today."
Exactly. And blame Rhett alongside. So blame, elevate our awareness.
Well, in awareness is where I wanted to go with that. You know, the way that I define awareness in my masterminds and in the work I do with clients is it's a process of noticing where access to the spirit that informs who I am and what we can become is either blocked or accessed. So that awareness, and it kind of speaks to both intentionality, but also to attention. Intentionality and attentionality. And my experience with a lot of businesses and with whom I work is that attention will hijack intention just about every time. Yeah, and people don't really know where their attention is being focused, and oftentimes it's to your point, I think, Seth, we start conflating different things here, and we start losing connection to that moral center, to that spiritual center. The attention goes to the business, to winning, to capturing, to all of the those nostrums that we talk about, rather than actually continuing to focus on who is it that we are becoming, what is it that we want to become, how do we want to express best who we are in relationship to our environment, our customers, our partners, our suppliers, that sort of thing. In the work that you do, and I know you've managed over 1,000 business divorces, where is the common thread that seems to be present in these divorce scenarios?
Well, I think in the divorce scenario, what you almost always have are two people who came together for a reason, right? It doesn't really matter whether you're talking about a husband or a wife or two business partners, right? They came together for a reason because they had a common goal. They saw things eye to eye. They agreed on a problem that they wanted to solve, and they agreed that they wanted to be disruptive. But usually the thing that breaks it apart is the way in which they choose to go about it. I almost always get a call from one partner saying, "Seth, you're not going to believe what just happened. You're not going to believe what so-and-so did." And it's always about sort of the way in which they go about it. And when I hear you talk about attention, we look at this because almost everything we do in our business is about controlling outcomes, right? And so we look at attention as inclusion when we're talking about how we work with our clients. And I think it's a big differentiator, right? So I almost look at it like a math formula with 5 inputs, and the first 3 inputs are standard. You always have, in almost everything I do, I have a legal issue, number 1, I have a business issue, number 2, and I have an analysis of both, number 3. Like, that's sort of super standard. But then where it becomes a differentiator is with 4 and 5, right? So 1 + 2 + 3, and then the 4 is providing your client with your opinion and teaching the interplay between the business and the legal issue. And then number 5, which is the biggest and the rarest one, is sort of where I get to that inclusion. It's the collaboration with the client to get her perspective, her agreement, and her buy-in. Because when you have that, and you've created that attention and that inclusion, you're almost always very consistently able to drive positive outsized outcomes for that person.
Good. Spoken like a kind lawyer, someone who's looking to help in those disputes with great strategy and understanding how to take businesses to the next level. And as a trusted advisor and a litigator to entrepreneurs, he's one of the finest and very experienced in making and resolving matters quickly under high pressure legal challenges that exist for everybody in business today. Seth Darmstadter, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having you back again. We are often in Chicago, personally because my daughter lives there, and we tie business around it, meetups and dinners. We'd love to get you integrated into our community, and we certainly appreciate everything you're doing for our community and the broader community at large. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Blaine. Really appreciate you having me, and really hope we get to continue the discussion.
Absolutely. Thanks, many more places. Thank you.
For sure.
Awesome. Seth in the house. We're 2 for 2 so far, and the pressure's on our third hitter here. So we'll see if he has a Barry Bonds type of quality as a third hitter. Dan Lazar is in the house, the founder of Hero X. Welcome, big number 3, to Office Hours 809.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. And also thank you for allowing me to join one of your dinners about a year ago in Los Angeles when we met in person for the first time.
Yes, we enjoyed it. Now, you created the Hero X Air Dome, and this is a transformational type of climate-controlled venue that provides against harsh weather, not just mild weather, and it maximizes your own activities outside year-round. Give us a little bit of a perspective of what the Hero X Air Dome, what it looks like, what it does, the differentiators in the marketplace.
Yeah, so we are an air dome supplier. Air domes are mostly used by sports clubs in general. They enable them to have revenue for 12 months per year instead of just 6. A lot of clubs, just tennis clubs, soccer clubs, maybe close due to the cold weather for 6 months per year. It's a business that I started due to a need. I'm a former tennis player. I had my own tennis club, and without the covering solution, my business would just disappear for 6 months per year. So I kind of did the first few structures for myself. Then we expanded into Europe. Now we're expanding into the US. And I guess the 3 reasons why people should consider working with us would be the quality of the materials that we use, the fact that we're very responsive and kind of approach this as an operator. We know how hard it is sometimes to be an operator, and we try to be transparent and responsive and flexible with our customers. And last but not least, the fact that I see that we actually are a return on investment provider. We look at how much money can you make with this product first, and if it's a good idea, then we're going to sell you one. If it's not a good idea, then perhaps we're going to recommend something else. These clubs need to make a return on investment by buying these. We don't need to. We shouldn't only be looking at our bottom line, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah. That question of ROI, kind of speaks to, at least in part, the geography of placement for an air dome. If I've got a tennis club, I've got a finite amount of real estate, and my building sits on it typically. If I'm going to ask, and inquire about building an air dome, particularly, and we're looking here at ROI, what do I need to do in order to actually have you build this out for me? I'm assuming I'm going to need to acquire a plot of land.
Yes, definitely. A plot of land would be first. Then you need a permit. Then you need some works on site, building a foundation and some infrastructure works. With that being said, I think you had a great point. An air dome kind of costs the same to build and maybe to operate, regardless if you're doing this in Wyoming or in Manhattan. But in Wyoming, maybe you charge $20 per hour for the tennis court. In Manhattan, maybe you charge $150 per hour. So due to this, the demand for this solution is heavily skewed, maybe between Washington to Boston, like in the more richer areas of the on the east side of the US. But with that being said, it's really all. It's kind of also dependent on how good are you as an operator to drive revenue. Maybe you also expand into pickleball or paddle or different other revenue streams that might have a higher revenue per square foot, I guess.
Dan and I partnered in Chicago on a facility for indoor baseball practice facilities, and they were extremely profitable with the obviously severe weather changes and lack of prediction of those changes, and allowed for the Midwest to have a year-round baseball training program. And they were really popular because of the wealth in the area and the amount that the trainers and instructors and coaches charged in that facility. An average air dome is how many square feet?
Probably around 30,000 square feet. We're doing now one that is 125,000 square feet.
And do you have a cost per square foot?
A rough range would be between $15 to $25 per square foot, depending on how many bells and whistles do you get. Do you want both heating and cooling? Do you want skylights? Do you want a large logo?
And so have you thought about, there's a big craze in America for barnuminiums. Have you heard of barnuminiums? Where they build a barn. They build a barn, but they range from $50 to $200 a square foot to build a barn. And it seems like the air dome would be a much more affordable and efficient way to have air dominium and be able to buy a plot of land on a lake and have the foundation, the water, the electricity, the Starlink, of course, if Dave Meltzer is going to visit, if I don't bring my own, and then build an air dome. And are they capable of living in them, or is it just for athletic type of activities?
The main use case would be athletics. If you want to actually be living inside of, so there's another product that we're doing, is called the fabric structure. This is more of a fixed structure. It's an aluminum frame and fabric, so it's kind of the same material like an air dome, but is a fixed structure. It's no longer air supported. So I've seen jails, I've seen hospitals inside. I've seen many use cases, especially as now it's a fixed structure.
And the cost per square foot for that is similar, or it's a little bit more?
Probably double.
Double, okay. What's so interesting as an entrepreneur worldwide, the influence of Forbes, as Dan was a Forbes 30 under 30, and he's also featured on Shark Tank Romania. And as I'm on the Aspire tour with all of the sharks, and Damon and Kevin and and Barbara, we talk all the time that people don't understand the international influence that Shark Tank has had on entrepreneurship and of course on capitalism in general. Hopefully they're reading the book, as you have, Dan, Compassionate Capitalism, in providing the social impact first as servant leaders that we are, and you certainly are. I look forward to having you back at one of our events, and you are always invited, not obligated. Stay informed and stay here, and go to heroxairdomes.com. Find your solution, and it is a very cost-effective way to create revenue and also help your community, because these spaces are very limited, Blaine, around the country, fields and courts, especially with pickleball and paddle. The courts, you can't find them, and you can now create the court year-round for people. It will sell out. I will almost guarantee that. So the ROI is strong if you put it in the right place. Dan Lazar leading the way. He is a hero amongst tennis buffs, but also other sports and other property development. And congratulations on the continued success. We look forward to working with you, Dan, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Blaine. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Dan.
Good to see you again. Thank you.
This you too.
Yeah.
Great, extraordinary entrepreneur.
I love what he's up to. And one thing we didn't touch on there, he's got some aspirations for inflatable habitats on the moon.
Yeah.
Which that kind of opens up another whole conversational area, as well as a commercial opportunity.
We got to have a reason to have people back, right? We can't go over everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You only give them 10 minutes for a reason.
Here, kitty. He kind of whets the appetite.
Exactly. Plus, we can't blow it in that short amount of time. Where everybody's interesting for the first 10 minutes. You kind of it diminishes in its interest as it goes on. Anyway, Blaine, as you know, the show is built for takeaways. We don't want people just to come and laugh at us. We want them actually to take away something valuable that is resonating with them, either strongly agreeing with them or strongly disagreeing with them, but thought-provoking and stimulating nonetheless. What is your takeaway of the day?
I'm going to go around this word called relationship today. I mean, Jeff actually brings this into conversation. Dan certainly does when we're looking at just kind of the nature of, business conflict and whatnot. And just kind of how Dan organizes. And I'm sorry, not Dan. Jeff. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And we had just another number of different conversations today around just the disruption that change causes to existing relationships. And I think being able to actually understand what the nature of change is and then move into the wisdom of that relationships are messy. And if I want a quality experience in life, I have to be willing to stand in the middle of the messiness and not lose myself in the process. And that's where wisdom, I think, comes into play here. Being able to actually tap into who am I, who are we, and leverage from there.
Yeah, I think wisdom and faith shorten that distance of resistance, which leads to my takeaway, which is the only certainty is uncertainty. And if we don't have a strategy to deal every day with the circumstances that exist, like weather, if you're going to have air domes, severe weather, like arguments in business, disagreements, like our friend Seth, and of course, utilizing the accelerated technologies that create all types of uncertainty that exists. So let's all develop the skill set to be more human by understanding every day uncertainty is our biggest certainty, and the better we have a relationship with it, the more we will accelerate, aggregate, and combine into a divine direction. And those detours also will align with the divine and the meaning of the past that is certain and can be aligned as well. So the incredible Blaine Bartlett, my mentor, people ask me all the time how I got so wise. I said, well, you found somebody really wise and asked him for directions. His name's Blaine Bartlett, blainebartlett.com. He's here to help you as an incredible mastermind, inviting everybody to. Blaine, where can people sign up for the mastermind?
They can actually go to my website, blainebartlett.com, and there's a resource tab there. And we're starting to build next year's mastermind. This year's is full. So next year's we're going to be launching 1st of March. So, we are bringing people on board with that right now.
You gotta build a wait list. Trust me.
Yep.
Sign up now for next year before it sells out. BlaineBartlett.com. Go to resources tab and sign up for his wait list for next March. I guarantee it'll.
There you go. Look, okay, Gigi, I love you. Look at this.
Yeah, look at that. It's a bigger ROI than an air dome. I promise you. So, anyway, Blaine, thanks for joining me on episode 809 or so of Office Hours.
Thank you, my friend. See you next week.
See you next week. The incredible Blaine Bartlett. We bring the best here on Office Hours. I want to remind everyone we'll be in New York City coming up tomorrow and Saturday, then to Jacksonville. Meetups holding course. We got VIP dinner. Speaking at the 1% event. I do want to note that Saturday at the 1% event is a special day for me. It's my daughter Marissa's debut. She is speaking at the 1% event in New York City. Congratulations, Marissa. Could not be prouder. I let her know every day I love her, I'm proud of her, and I always have her back. So no different than any other day, but I'm excited for you to venture into an experience that I share every day. Then I'll be in Jacksonville with the executive crew doing executive meetup, holding court in Jacksonville, Florida with the Aspire executives. And then back to New York City for an investor VIP dinner, holding court interviews and meetings there in New York City, on my way to Rhode Island for the same. And then finally into Columbus, Ohio. That's right, Columbus, Ohio, the Aspire Business Tour, Gary V, Ed Milet, myself, Mark Leomas, Andrew Cordell, Eddie Wilson. We got the crew in Columbus, very close to my hometown of Akron, Ohio. Go Buckeyes, the #1 team in the nation, 2 years in a row. I'm sorry, Ducks. That would be for Blaine. You are the best of the worst. Second place isn't bad. Anyways, we will move on. If you want to join us, want to be informed and invited, just go ahead and text me 949-298-2905. If you don't want to be informed and don't want to be invited, do not text me at 949-298-2905, or you can always email me directly, David at dmeltzer.com. Remember, Don't Do Business with Dicks is available. It will launch on Super Bowl. We started during the season, running it through. And Simon & Schuster, just go to that little QR code. Get yourself a pre-ordered copy of Don't Do Business with Dicks. Be more interested than interesting. Be kind. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds. I promise you, you'll be happy. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.